There is something no one has told you, something they have buried so deep in your subconscious that you no longer even remember when was the last time you truly felt it. I'm not talking about money, nor fame, nor power. I'm talking about something much more ancient, something the Persian philosophers called the primordial force of being, something the tantric masters protected as the most dangerous secret in the universe. I am talking about your sexual energy. And before you close this video thinking you know what this is about, I want you to stay, because what you are about to hear you won't find in any cheap self-help book, nor in any weekend motivational talk. What I am about to reveal to you has been hidden for centuries, not by chance, but by convenience. Because when a human being discovers what that energy really is, they cease to be controllable. And that, to certain power structures, has never been of interest. Think about it for a moment. How many times in your life have you felt that spark? That fire that is born in the center of your body and goes up your spine like pure electricity. That feeling of being completely alive, completely present, completely invincible. Do you remember it? Of course you do. We have all felt it at some point. But now tell me, where is that fire today? When was the last time you felt it truly burn? If you have to think about it too much, you already have your answer. And the answer is brutal. You have been wasting it. Not consciously, not out of malice, but because nobody taught you that this energy was a resource, that it was, in reality, the most valuable resource you possess as a human being on the face of this earth. Sexual energy is not what they told you it was. It is not simply the biological impulse of reproduction. It is not the animal instinct that must be satisfied and forgotten. That is the simplified version, the version given to beings who are not destined to awaken. The version that keeps the majority of humanity trapped in a cycle of seeking, discharge, and emptiness. Seeking, discharge, and emptiness. Over and over again, entire decades of life consumed in that loop without ever wondering if there is something more. And yes, there is something more, infinitely more. The spiritual masters of ancient India, the Chinese Taoists, the medieval European alchemists, all of them, in completely different cultures and in completely different times, aren't reached the same conclusion. Sexual energy is the energy of creation itself. Not metaphorically, literally. It is the same force that makes a seed germinate in the earth, that moves the stars in space, that generates life where before there was nothing. And that force lives inside you. You carry it with you every second of every day. The question is not whether you have it. The question is what you are doing with it. Here comes something I want you to absorb with all the attention you have at this moment. The beings who have changed the history of humanity, without exception, had a completely different relationship with this energy. Nikola Tesla died single and childless by his own choice. Not because he couldn't have relationships, but because he understood something that very few understand. His energy was the fuel of his genius. Every time he preserved it, transformed it, sublimated it, he obtained access to mental states that allowed him to visualize complete machines in 3 dimensions before building them. He said that his celibacy was the driving force behind all his discoveries. Newton, Da Vinci, Beethoven, Nietzsche all shared this same understanding in different degrees. It was not a coincidence, it was a technology of the human being that has been systematically erased from modern education. And now, the uncomfortable question, the one that hurts if you stop to answer it honestly. In what direction is your energy flowing right now? Because sexual energy does not disappear. You cannot waste it and stay at zero just like that. Energy is not destroyed, it is transformed. And if you do not direct it yourself in a conscious way, the system will take care of directing it for you. Where does the system direct it? Towards consumption, towards empty entertainment, towards pornography that anesthetizes you emotionally and turns you into a dopamine reactor without the capacity for concentration, towards superficial relationships that give momentary pleasure and leave an existential hole that no person can fill, towards the infinite scroll that devours hours of your life while your internal fire slowly goes out. Meanwhile, those who know what this energy is are using it to build empires, to create works that last centuries, to reach states of consciousness that the majority of human beings will never experience in their entire lives. But wait, because here comes what I really want you to understand. And what I am going to say now can completely change the way you relate to yourself from here on out. Sexual energy is not simply physical energy. It is the bridge between your material dimension and your spiritual dimension. It is the interface between your body and your soul, if you want to call it that. The Tantric yogis of the Kashmiri Shaivite tradition, one of the most sophisticated systems of exploration of consciousness that humanity has produced, described this energy with a Sanskrit term, Kundalini, the sleeping serpent, coiled at the base of your spine, waiting, not to be released in any way, but to be awakened with consciousness, with intention, with mastery. And here comes the mystery, the true mystery that is hidden behind all this conversation. When the Kundalini awakens and ascends, something that happens when you transform sexual energy instead of dissipating it, the human being accesses states that have no name in Western languages, states that the Eastern masters described as samadhi, as satori, as the union with everything. They are not unreachable mystical states reserved for monks in Himalayan caves. They are neurological states. They are states of amplified consciousness. They are states in which your mind operates with a clarity, a creativity, and a strength that in your habitual state you simply do not know. Modern scientists who study the neurology of deep meditation have found that in these states, the brain produces gamma waves at frequencies that are never observed in ordinary conditions. The brain literally vibrates differently. It functions differently. It is a different version of the human being. And do you know what is the most disturbing thing of all this? That you have access to that. That it is not a privilege of a few chosen ones. That the door is in you. That it has always been in you. That the only thing that has separated you from that state is not your lack of talent, nor your lack of intelligence, nor your lack of spiritual merit. It is simply ignorance. And now you can no longer say that you didn't know. Now then, how does this work in practical terms? Because I don't want this to stay as a pretty speech about serpents and cosmic energies. I want you to be able to take away something concrete. The masters of the different traditions that worked with this energy identified 3 fundamental processes. The first is retention. Not repression, mind you, which are completely different things. Repression is denial. It is fear. It is generating an internal pressure cooker that explodes in destructive ways. Retention is consciousness. That is to say, I have this fire, and I choose not to burn it now. I choose to keep it. I choose to convert it into something else. The psychological difference between both attitudes is abysmal. The second process is transmutation. This word, which sounds alchemical because it literally is, describes the process of converting one energy into another. Transmuted sexual energy becomes creative energy, mental energy, spiritual energy. Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, dedicated an entire chapter to this process. He called it the transmutation of sex. He said that the men who had reached greatness in their fields, without exception, it were men who had learned to transform their sexual impulse into creative obsession. He didn't say it as a metaphor. He said it as a law of success. He had observed it in 200 of the most brilliant minds of his time. The third process is elevation. Once the energy has been retained and transmuted, it needs a channel towards which to flow, a purpose, a vision, a work. Without this, the transmutation is not completed, and the energy seeks its habitual exit again. That is why the great creators were not only sexually disciplined, they were obsessed with their work. Tesla didn't sleep. Da Vinci filled entire notebooks during the night. Beethoven composed in states that he himself described as possession. It was not madness. It was the elevated energy finding its course. It was the Kundalini flowing upwards through its maximum expression. But here comes something that few spiritual masters dare to say because it is politically uncomfortable. The sexual energy that you waste not only takes away your own resources, it connects you energetically to patterns that are not yours. Every time you have a sexual encounter, there is an energetic exchange. Not only physical, energetic. The shamans of multiple cultures, from Amerindians to Africans, from Polynesians to Siberians, all agree that the sexual act creates a bond, an energetic cord, between the two people involved. And that bond remains, sometimes for months, sometimes for years, sometimes, if the exchange was very intense, for life. Which means that each person with whom you have had contact of that type has, in some measure, a connection with your energetic field. They carry part of you, and you carry part of them. How many connections of that type do you have open right now? How many of those people are nourishing you, and how many are draining you without you knowing it? This is not religion nor morality. This is energetics. And if you have felt at some point that after certain encounters you remain strangely empty, strangely sad, strangely without energy, even though it should be the opposite, you already know the reason. It was not your imagination. It was the energetic exchange working against you. So, what to do with all this? Because I didn't bring you here to scare you or to give you a sermon on abstinence. I brought you here to show you a possibility. The possibility of relating to your own energy in a completely different way, and to go from being a reactor, someone who simply responds to the impulse, to being a conductor, someone who directs the current consciously. This starts with a single step. A single step that the majority of people never take because it seems too simple. The step is to observe. To observe your sexual energy without acting on it immediately. To feel it arise, feel it move in your body, and instead of seeking immediate discharge, to stay with it. To breathe deeply. To take it with attention upwards, towards the chest, towards the head. To notice what happens. What thoughts emerge. What creative impulses appear. What clarity arises. It may sound like something very small, but it is the beginning of an internal revolution. The Zen masters say that the longest path starts with the first step taken in the right direction. And the right direction is not outside, it was always inside. Now then, I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine that you have been consciously directing this energy for 30 days instead of dispersing it. 30 days of conscious retention, of active transmutation, of elevation towards your purpose. How do you think your mind would be? How do you think your body would be? How do you think you would be sleeping, thinking, creating? It is not a rhetorical question. It is an experiment that you can do. And the people who have done it report things that seem impossible from the outside. Mental clarity that they hadn't experienced since childhood. Creativity that emerges on its own, without effort, as if an internal fountain had been uncapped. Physical presence that literally changes the way people perceive you. Magnetism. Not the magnetism of someone who tries to please, but that of someone who is simply so complete in themselves that their mere presence transforms the environment. The medieval alchemists sought the philosopher's stone, that mythical element that converted lead into gold. They spent entire lives looking for something external. But those who really knew, the Hermetics, the Rosicrucians, the initiates in the major mysteries, knew that the philosopher's stone was not a mineral. It was a state of being. It was the result of the great internal work, the opus magnum. And the first material of that great work, the prima materia, as they called it, was exactly this: sexual energy converted into spiritual gold. I don't tell you this so that you believe it blindly. I tell you this so that you explore it, so that you ask the question that perhaps you had never asked yourself. What if this energy that I carry inside is much more than what they told me? What if what I have been doing with it all my life is barely the most superficial version of what is possible? What if there is a version of me that I still don't know, that exists on the other side of this practice? Before reaching the closing, I need to ask you something. If this video has ignited something in you, if it has stirred some certainty, if it has opened some question that you didn't know you had, subscribe to this channel right now. Activate the bell so you don't miss anything. Leave a comment below with what has resonated with you the most, because that comment is not just text. It is a declaration of intention in front of the universe. And share this video with someone you think needs it, because when you do it, when you take that conscious action, something moves, not only on the screen, in you. The act of sharing true knowledge is in itself an act of transmutation. It is elevated energy that returns to you, multiplied in clarity, in connections, in opportunities. The universe responds to the one who gives without calculating. And if you do all this today, something in your energetic field will begin to rearrange itself. Not as an empty promise, as a law. And now the closing. What I took away from all this, and what I want you to take away. Sexual energy is not your enemy. It never was. It was the biggest gift you received upon being born in this body. The problem is not the energy. The problem is the unconsciousness with which you have handled it. But unconsciousness is not a sentence. It is simply the state prior to awakening. And the awakening starts at the exact moment in which you decide that you are no longer going to continue being the reactor, that you are going to be the conductor, that current of fire that you carry inside is going to flow towards something that is worth it, towards your work, towards your purpose, towards the version of yourself that you have not yet met, but that already exists, waiting for you on the other side of this decision. Don't think about it too much. The mind will always find a reason to wait. The body already knows the answer. It already knew it before you started watching this video. For a reason, you arrived here. For a reason, this resonated with you. That was not a coincidence. It was your energy recognizing its own path. Now you just have to follow it, upwards.